Hey everyone, we're going to do something a little different today. When I was creating this footage, I didn't realize that I was experiencing audio issues. So we're going to talk through each one of these, and hopefully I'll be able to give you a little bit of information about each one that I typically wouldn't have available in other videos. So we're going to start with an Apache, which is part of what was named a task force truck. This was started in 58, and 59 was the 2 years that are mainly known as the Apache model. I believe the name was used sparingly in the early 60s as well. This is a pretty nice truck, and the guy did a nice job restoring it to what appears to be somewhat original. I see a aftermarket radio in there, but otherwise it looks pretty period correct. You saw the straight axle underneath, so the suspension looks like it's been untouched, probably just refreshed and whatnot. So otherwise a very nice looking truck, fleet side model, as you can see. I don't know about the color, if it was original or not, but otherwise a good, what would be considered a good driver. Let's see if I've got any more information about these trucks. The task force trucks went from 55 to 59, and we'll talk more about what happened in 59 or 55 in a minute. Henry J. So this car was made by a company called Kaiser Fraser, and it was just a small 5-seater sedan that came out in 1951. I've probably seen 100 of these cars in my lifetime, and I can't think of a single one that had not been converted into a gasser. And if you don't know what that is, that's essentially a term from back in I think it started in the 50s, where people would put straight axles underneath the front end of the cars, whether they had one originally or not. And that was essentially to keep them going in a straight line. And they would jack the front end up in the air. And that was supposedly to get a head start on weight distribution. So you leave the line, your weight is already shifted toward the rear tires, so assumed better traction, and that was the thought process behind the whole gasser movement. And Henry J's is just one of the popular ones that you can see that done in. This one's got a convertible or a fiberglass front end that flips to the front, and you can see we got some rat fink inspired colors inside, steering wheel and whatnot, and then the striping you see on the roof. Rat fink, if you don't know, is basically a mouse that took on a whole life of itself by a famous artist back I think it was in the 50s as well. And you can read more about that by searching for rat fink. Good sounding old car. Looks more ready for the drag strip than it does on the street, but nevertheless, nice car. Here is 1955 Chevrolet, and a lot of people call these tons of different things. It really has more to do with the trim package that was on the car, and quite frankly I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to tell the difference, but some might refer to this as a Bel Air. Some people may refer to it as a two-door hardtop. I'm trying to get a shot of the brakes. At least somebody has modernized part of it by putting disc brakes on the front. It doesn't look like I did too terribly good of a job there, but at any rate, this is the first year of the Tri-5 series, so 55 through 57, very popular year models. This was the first year of that. Quick fact, this was also the first year of the small block Chevrolet. So your 283 that started the whole SBC movement, that debuted in this car. I think when I talked to the owner of this one, he had it maybe a year or two. He did not build it, so there wasn't a whole lot of detail that he could give me on it. And I believe this was actually grabbed before he walked up, so he had it buttoned up. I think here in just a second I'm going to include some footage of the windows down and the hood open, so you'll be able to get a little bit better view. Let's see, body styles: 2-door hardtop, 4-door hardtop, 4-door sedan, 2-door convertible. We had a station wagon, both in 2-door and 4-door. So there's the motor. Looks like a little bit more modernized, small block. This one had a nice addition. You can see the air conditioning there, plumbed and ready to go. I think it probably made the ride much more comfortable. I see, looks like an MSD box, which is part of the ignition, mounted on the firewall. Not a whole lot more to note here other than just the chrome accessories that he dressed the engine out with. Looks like he did a pretty good job buttoning up the wiring. Yeah, that's it. Typical setup that you would see on a modernized Tri-5. That's the catch can or overflow for the radiator, that little tube that you see on the right hand side of the radiator. The shot of the belt set up there, the pulley set up, as a lot of people refer to it as. The inside I thought was really nice. Most of it, as far as the dash goes, was still left intact, original. You see the AC unit is an underdash job. Speedometer, cluster, all that stuff looks, I think it's original setup. Aftermarket steering wheel, and this one actually was a 4-speed, so that's pretty neat. I love the interior in this. The red accent is a very nice touch. Got the bow tie logos in the backrest. Probably wasn't cheap to get that set up, but nonetheless, it's a good job. So here's a 3100 Chevy truck. These went from 1947 to 1953. I don't know exactly what year model this one is. Somebody that's more knowledgeable about the grills and whatnot could probably tell you. This one's got me even at a more handicap because there's not a whole lot of the front end left on it. This one has been put on what appears to be an S10 frame, and of course that means you're basically taking the body and fabricating your body mounts and using all the modernized drivetrain from Chevy S10, and that gives you a little bit modern suspension. Not a whole lot of bells and whistles on this thing. It's pretty rough looking. Would definitely be in the rat rod category, and honestly, it's right up my alley. I would personally much more prefer it to be a Ford, but the Chevrolets has got a place in my heart as well. This one has got a raised bed floor in it. Looks like he took a piece of metal and raised the bed floor up a little bit. I'm not sure what the purpose of that is, since it's not got tubs in it. The wheels are all on the outside, as you can see. So usually when you see a raised bed floor like that, that means that the wheels are tucked in, and part of the bed floors had to be cut out to accommodate for the wheels. So maybe he's got something else going on under there that I couldn't see, but who knows? You never can tell with these rat rods. The ingenuity is it'll take you by surprise from time to time, and I'm sure this one is no exception. Third generation Camaros. This was the car that was out when I was in high school. I'll be honest with you. With the introduction of the fiberglass pieces, in the front and back, a little less metal on them than the second gen and the first gen Camaros. And to be quite honest with you, they didn't age well. I don't think that the inside would hold up for any length of time from what I could see. And more importantly, I've never rode in one, at least back in the 90s, early 2000s, that didn't feel like the front end was going to fall out from underneath it. It just, the suspension just wasn't there, and again, didn't hold up. There's your typical taillight covers. That was a thing back in the 80s and 90s. No idea why we thought it was a great idea to cover up the headlights and taillights, but here we are. So that would be considered period correct. And wheels, some drag lights, looks like, all typically what you'd see back then. And there's a aftermarket shifter that's been put in the factory console. Again, it was probably one was made by Hurst or TCI, somebody that where it would fit in that console without being modified. This is, I believe, a 1946 Ford Coupe, and really nicely done. This car, takes on more of the original look. You'll see a 48 Coupe here in just a bit that's been a little bit more modernized. This one, it's had a lot of additions too. You can see the disc brakes. Try to get a shot of that. A little bit more modern interior. I believe, this one's got an underdash air conditioning unit in it as well. So I'm sure that all that is, makes for a much nicer cruise, if you will. More modern tires, wheels, that sort of thing. Not sure who those are made by, but they look old in design. And like I said, I think this one was a 46 based on a couple of lights that were in the front that I did not see on a 47 or a 48. It makes me feel like that we're about ready to jump in to go to a drive-in theater or get a milkshake at the local drive-through joint. It's definitely a nice car, and I love that red accent that's been done on this interior as well. Good job. This is an old 4 Model A Coupe that's got a little bit of a spin on it, where you would, I guess, convert one of these things to run circle track is the only thing I can figure. There's an A-arm suspension of some kind. I don't know what that's from. It could be a Mustang too. Not real sure. There's your a trailer fender that's been repurposed, used for the front fenders on that thing. You see those mounts that's been created for them, and this whole push bar on the front and that grill cover, all that is indicative of a circle track setup that would have been done at some point way back when. That exhaust setup is basically, you can run it two different ways. That's considered a cutout. So there's a cap on the end of that header, and if you take that cap off, then it'll take the shortest path, least resistance kind of thing, and you essentially are running the headers only. You put that cap on the end of it, and then it'll take that path through the muffler, and the sound will be much less at that point. That sidebar there, again, I think that's for rubbing is racing, the whole circle track thing. Dirt track is what this would be used for, but obviously somebody's kind of morphed this into a street car setup. I like it. I can't tell if that's aluminum interior or what they or mix of aluminum and vinyl or what they've done in there, but it's definitely unique and pretty well done from what I can tell. these cars are getting harder and harder to find. That's a rumble seat set up in the back, so the rear opens up and people would jump in there and can ride in the car. It's called that because the teenagers can get out in a moment's notice for a rumble if things got serious. Here's a Dodge Dart Swinger. This was a Chrysler product, of course, and the Swinger models were something a little bit extra. I think this one has a 340 in it, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. I've got my notes here somewhere if I can find them. Yeah, so Dodge Dart, the Swinger models, I believe, started in, this one is probably a 69, and it could have like I said, I think that's a 340, which would be a desirable car. They changed quite a bit in 1970, which makes me think that this one is a 69 from the best I can tell. Air conditioning from the factory, it looks like a car as well. So this one, there's other indications like the stripe on the back, that it was one of the more outfitted models of the line, and definitely a very nicely restored car that looks like they did their level best to restore it back to factory type conditions. I guess that underdash possibly was a factory setup. Maybe not. I mean, if it wasn't, they used a compressor that looked like it it fit in, even if it was aftermarket. But I don't know. I know those underdash units existed from the factory in some cars. Maybe it did for this one. I'm just honestly not familiar enough to be able to call it one way or the other. It looks like a pretty good paint job on this car. If I had to guess, probably doesn't get driven every day, but hopefully he does get it out and enjoy it. I do see the tag on it, and definitely was driven there, and I'm sure it probably doesn't see rain all that often, which I can't argue with that. Very nice car. This would have been considered, a compact car that had some performance options at the time, and would have been something that a racer would or a performance car enthusiast would have pursued, either when they came out or years after, when the whole muscle car movement was out. Couldn't tell you whether those disc brakes are factory or not. First gen Camaro. So 67 was the first year, and they went to 69. Honestly, I don't know my first gen Camaros well enough to be able to tell you which one this was, but I can tell you that it looks pretty period correct all the way down to the bias ply Firestone tires that are on it. Wheels, the whole bit. That Super Sport Camaro is well done. I believe, this is a 396 car, which is factory big block, and probably a 350 horsepower from the factory. I believe that's right, if I remember correctly. And again, this guy did a good job on restoring it as well. And those headlights there is factory. Those have an option called hideaway headlights, so that those covers, if you will, are probably part of the Super Sport package. There's your typical emissions stickers that were on about that time when people was really first getting excited about emissions and that sort of thing. It's a nice keep. They found that, put it back on there, assuming it was on there before. Looks like a factory 4-speed, which is probably a Muncie transmission. It's a 396 Super Sport, 4-speed in the floor. That's about as American Camaro as you can get. It don't get much better than that in terms of. I just noticed that handle on the glove box. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't know if that's a shoot handle, let me hold on, or what the deal is there. I can't say I've seen that before. 1958 Chevrolet. Technically, I believe this is considered an Impala, and would have been the first year. Let's see if I can find my notes here. 58 Impala was part of the Bel Air line. There's related cars, the Biscayne, the Del Rey. There's several different trim packages, if you will. Looks like it had a couple of different options for engines, an inline 6, and then V8, and then you had anything from a 2-speed power glide to 3-speed manual, and then it looks like a 3-speed automatic. There was also apparently a convertible version of this one, but I believe this is the only year. The second generation was started in 1959 and went through 1960, so kind of odd for the generation to only contain 1 year. This one is definitely ready for the drive-in. I love the outfit that they've got there, both the drive-in speaker and the sock-hop tray on the window holding the dinner. The guy did this, I think he said it took the better part of a year to get done. He was retired, and not anything other than this going on in terms of focus. And he found a couple parts cars and was able to use them for the things that he needed. I love these period artifacts that he's got in the back that you might have seen in cars back then. So all good stuff, all the way down to the factory stickers for the trunk and spare tire. All that looks like it's intact in the right place. It's good job. The guy did well. 58 Impala. Oh, he let me open the door. I forgot. This one was one that sometimes people will. It is a Bel Air. Yeah, sometimes people will see me filming and they'll say, "Oh yeah, you go ahead and open the door." And usually I'm about finished when the offer happens, and then it's kind of like me starting over again to get all the good shots that I typically wouldn't get with the door shut. Looks like he's got a couple models that are on the dash that are kind of emulate the full-sized car. That's always a nice touch. There's a copy of Life magazine, probably from a month in 1958. He's done well to grab all these artifacts that go with it. Trim plate looks like it's straight out of 1958 with some weathering layered on top. I like it. That's a very unique color pattern for that interior. But, I'm sure it's original in terms of the layout. You did a good job. I wish I had been able to include some of the outside sounds with this. There was some pretty nice sounding cars and all this, but unfortunately with my audio problems, I wasn't able to do that. Ford F-100 Ranger. Ranger meant something a little bit different back then. It wasn't a completely different truck. This had to do with a trim package of the F-100 models. So this one is considered an F-100 Ranger. And I don't remember what the motor was in this one, but he done a pretty good job bringing it, back to what you would consider, a 70s restored truck. I mean, it looks from the inside, all that looks fairly original. In terms of the dash, I saw maybe a cluster that had been updated, and then, of course, the seat has been recovered. Ranger XLT, again, that's the XLT was part of the trim package as well. Bed cover, he shaved the rear bumper on it. Not sure what I think about that, but most of you aren't asking, so I will keep that opinion to myself. That mid console is a very handy thing to have in any kind of truck. Disc brakes, I believe that one came disc brakes from the factory, so probably not a whole lot of work had to be done there other than just a typical refresh. Got air in it. I'm getting old these days. I prefer air in even my old vehicles, so that is definitely a nice welcome thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I can still roll the windows down and sweat it out with the best of them, but given the choice, I like the air conditioning option. This thing right here is probably the most interesting car of the whole show, a Pontiac T37. This car actually belonged to the guy's mother, and she had bought it from someone that she had worked for and drove it for many years. And then I believe at some point his dad was using it around the farm to go check on the crops. He said one day the exhaust fell off of it, and he brought it home and parked it, and it sat for 20 years. And so he went to Michigan, got the car, brought it back, and restored it back to original condition. And I mean, this thing is just unbelievable. The T comes from the Tempest, so they dropped the Tempest name and just kept the T, and the designation is a T37. Let's see, technically it is, let's see, where is that? It's part of the Le Mans family, and it would be technically a third generation car. And this was basically a way, back then to, there was some performance options that you could get on this car. You could get a V8 option. You could even get it. There's about 500 made with a 455 in it, but it was basically known as anybody under 30 that wanted a GTO. It was positioned to them as a lower cost alternative. I love that car. Guy did a great job on it. Chevrolet Chevelle Super Sport. This is, another what you would think of, 70s muscle car, typical red-blooded American, long-haired hippie fella ready to, hit the streets and, fun packed night of drag racing. This thing looks like it was done period correct as well. I know those for a fact that those are the original style wheels that came on it. Super Sport 454. Just about every one of these Chevelles, in terms of what I see of them anyway, came with big blocks in them. So in a lot of ways, it could outperform the Camaros with the small blocks from the factory. But this one, I believe, this is the last year they had the 4 headlights, and then the very next year was back to, well, not back. It started with the single headlights. So this is a little bit of a, again, last year before some design changes. Chevy 2 Nova Super Sport. This is a unibody car, which basically means there's a piece of a frame in the back and a piece of the frame in the front, and then they're tied together with the body. It sucks for a muscle car because you put any kind of torque on it whatsoever underneath the hood, then the body starts twisting, and you start seeing cracks and whatnot in the body. Don't ask me how I know that, but I love these cars. This one is first generation, I believe. 63 was the first year, and they went to 62 was the first year, and they went to 65 with the first gen. And I actually had a 66 Super Sport. This one's had a modernized front end. Hopefully he got the shock towers removed in whatever work he did on it. He's got his swisher lit and he's ready to roll. Left the show early for whatever reason. Nice car. And I had some audio with it for whatever reason. This thing is a Dodge LCF, otherwise known as a low cab forward. Basically, they replaced the cab over trucks of the 50s. The what's known as the COEs of the 50s. Basically, what that means is the cab is sitting on top of the engine. This one, as you can see, is not that way, and they come up with this LCF designation for low cab forward. I don't know if it had any kind of modifications in terms of chassis. No idea whether it was original motor or not. It looked like some sort of diesel in it. They were built from 1960 to 1976. And it looks like the majority of them was assembled in Michigan. They had several different options in terms of engines. Looks like a Caterpillar unit was an option, and as well as Cummins and a Detroit diesel, which I'm sure one of those stickers that was on the motor had one of those names on it. So who knows? It could be an all original drivetrain underneath there. Again, I'm not 100% on these because this is probably the first one I've ever seen. The guy did a good job on it, and I'm sure it's a fun truck to drive around. All right, Chevrolet K10. I know you've probably heard C10 a gazillion times. The K10 is basically a four-wheel drive version. I can't tell you whether this one technically started out as a C10 or if it was always a K10. That's because it could very well started life out as a two-wheel drive. The guy said that it had a square body 4x4 frame underneath it. So again, who knows if it started out as a four-wheel drive truck. Very nicely done. It's got whatever that bed coating is on the whole thing, which I think for this particular truck it kind of fits. The bumpers, you can see diamond plate and then blacked out. I think it's done really well. I love this tire mount in the back for some reason. It reminds me probably like it because it reminds me of the T.J. Hooker setup back, kid show in the 80s that I would watch. And if I if I recall correctly, he had that same tire mount in the back. It was a different truck, of course, but it just, I don't know, probably a memory it triggered. But this guy bought it as is. He didn't build it, so he didn't know a whole lot of the details other than just the basics, and he had done some work on it. I think maybe the bumpers, and I know the tire. We talked about the tire mount. All that's he added some things to it after he got it, but whatever he thought he needed to do to make it his own. And I'm sure it's a fun truck. Looks like the undercarriage was refreshed as it should have been before setting the body on top of it, and I'm guessing maybe the tank's underneath in the bed, and that's the access door to put gas in it. That's typically what that is. Maybe these trucks originally had the tank behind the seat. I don't know, to be honest with you. I've never been a big 67 through 72 fan. I mean, they're nice trucks, but I just don't know a whole lot about them. Ford, I think this is an F600, or maybe that's an 800 badge. I can't tell. It's either a 6 or an 8. It would be considered a medium duty truck, at least when it came from the factory. Although, as you can probably see by the size of the cab, it was a big truck nonetheless. This one obviously has been taken the reverse and slammed, and it's got a really, really, really nice air ride suspension. And of course, as you can see, put the bumpers right on the ground, and got a really nice setup, dually in the back, dual airbag suspension on the back. I don't know a whole lot about these air systems, but I can look at some of these and just tell that there was probably little expense spared, and this one would be no exception. It's a nice little touch with the bumper hitch built into the fabricated bumper they did there. Lots of work went into that suspension. Disc brake rear. They retained the parking brake, which is a huge plus. A lot of people, when they convert these rears to disc brakes, they will choose to lose the parking brake, and that's a big deal. Fab Junkie on YouTube. I think the guy is telling me that I can open the door on this, or I stuck the camera in there, and then usually that's the thing that either makes or breaks. I haven't heard anybody say, get off my lawn yet by doing that, but a lot of people do. Once I start sticking the camera in there, tell me that I can open the door. Looks like a modern dash out of some other kind of truck. I noticed the air conditioning controls, all that's probably out of a looks like to me, if I had to put a period on it, maybe late 80s, 90s controls, maybe from the dash setup as well. Probably a Ford, a newer model Ford had all that. Just a guess, could be way off, but did a really good job. Looks like we got some fairly updated speaker system. That's the filter, I guess, for the mids and highs stuck on the outside of the door. Typically that stuff is hidden away, but I guess in this case it's for aesthetics. I pointed to this gas door while I was filming and give the guy a confused look, like, what the heck is that? Because clearly the gas tank was in the back, and he come over, and he's about to walk over and unscrew it and show, here I am pointing, like, what is that thing? And so he's going to open it up. And we didn't talk, not a word was said, but that looks like some sort of charging port. Maybe you would plug an extension cord in there. Now, I don't know if you're putting power in it or pulling power out of it. No clue whatsoever, but nonetheless, pretty cool. AC Cobra Shelby. This was a car that was made overseas and came with a Ford motor. And then at some point, Carroll Shelby embraced this car and made it his own. Carroll Shelby being one of the famous performance designers that wound up working for many of the manufacturers. Still this day is known for the one Ford car that has won the 24-hour Le Mans race. This was a kit car out of from a company called Factory 5 Racing. It's got a small block in it, looks like, which I don't like. When I see a Shelby Cobra, I feel like it has to have the 427 in it. There's something about that sound coming out of those side pipes that cannot be reproduced with a small block Ford. But nonetheless, a nice car. I can't afford one, so it really doesn't matter whether it's got a small block or a big block in it. But if I had $100,000 plus, whatever they cost, I would make sure mine's got the 427 Ford in it, and I would drive the wheels off of it. Circle track car, definitely something that was known for in the performance circles that Carroll Shelby loved. 1970 Dodge Challenger. Now this one is, I think for the most part, restored back to the original. That color is called Plum Crazy Purple and is a Dodge color. A little kid, backed up to it, looking at the car beside me, made me nervous. I'm thinking, oh, well, I hope them jeans don't leave a present on that guy's fender. It made me nervous. But at any rate, this one has got its own website associated with it. I believe it's plumcrazychallenger.com. It'll show on a sign that I'm going to get over there to in just a minute. But this one, I believe, is, it was original in terms of the package. A lot of times what you'll see on cars like this is there'll be a lesser trim, lesser options, and then people will put the bigger motors and more trim on it to make it into something it wasn't from the factory. But this one, I believe, based on all the signage and whatnot that you're about to see, that this one actually came from the factory with all the options this one has, which definitely means something in terms of for the value and just the notoriety. I believe, here we go. We're going to pan over to it. There was 3,000 of these things made, Plum Crazy RT hardtops in 1970. So one of 3,000 and change, which is a rare car in any circle. I asked the guy if he ever drove it. He said, yeah, that it gets driven somewhat. He looked to another guy for reassurance, so I don't know that he drives the wheels off of it, but he definitely gets it out from time to time. Here's an early Ford Bronco. First, let me say to the owner, if you hear this, you've got a lot more trust than I would. I saw what looked like a teenager leaving in this thing, and these things aren't cheap, especially restored to this level. You can very easily spend $80,000 to $100,000 on a restoration job for an early Bronco that's been restored to this level. And I'm sure he was a great driver and very responsible, but my goodness, these things you can spend some money in them very quickly. I have no idea what kind of wheels those are, but obviously just in wheels and tires alone. There's been quite the coin dropped. No idea. I'm pretty sure this orange wasn't a factory color. Clearly a Tennessee fan. It's a very good job. I know I've said that a lot in these previous cars that we've looked at. I thought that was neat, that butterfly landing there on the Bronco emblem. But this one, yeah, I mean it was well done. I would much prefer this over a new one. Nothing wrong with the new ones, but I love the old ones. OBS. I looked at this thing. It's got a vintage tag on the back, and I looked at the guy and said these trucks aren't supposed to have antique tags on them because they were the trucks that were out when I was in high school. It just doesn't seem like it's been that long to be able to warrant an antique tag, but here we are 30 years later. This one I can't remember. I think he said it was an 89. Obviously it's been modernized to the hilt, so there's not a whole lot left as part of the original setup. The dash, steering wheel is original. This thing, I was expecting to come around here and see an LS in it, but this is old school big block stuff. And it was running, this is a high compression, old school carbureted race motor. I could definitely tell he was running probably 110 octane, which is probably a minimum for this truck. I don't see this being a practical driver, even though it had tags on it, and he drove it to the meet. In that kind of fuel requirement alone would rule it out for me, but nonetheless, I'm sure it's fun. Maybe one day he'll get tired of that and put an LS or something in it, more modern and efficient. Huge Pro Street type back half. Would definitely go along with the 90s Pro Street era. Road grader type wheels in the back, but definitely would be what was considered tubbed out back in the day. Probably a Curry, a 9-inch Ford rear end. Here's an old Ford Thunderbird. It's typically not the model Thunderbird that you would see normally. The popular ones are the 57s, but this one is unique in its own right, and it was restored back to original state. It looked immaculate, and I couldn't see a single thing on it that didn't look like it didn't come that way from the factory. Second generation Thunderbirds went from 58 to 60. First gens is typically what you think of when you see a old period Thunderbird. So this is a 79 Ford F100. This one was literally laying on the frame. I believe this one has a pretty cult following as well. I think there's an Instagram sticker on the rear window. This one had a name you can see plastered all over it that he considered this thing to be. And I'll let you figure out what that is on your own. C-notched frame, extreme C-notch, and basically that's that U-shaped thing or C-shaped part of the frame there that is over the axle that allows for suspension travel when you've lowered one to this degree. Airbag setup, of course, it's the only way you can get one this low. And then you essentially let all the air out of the bags. It allows it to lay on the ground, and then when you get ready to head out, you can adjust the ride height depending on how much air you put back into the bags, and that's done through an air compressor. Now you've got a tank there that holds a little bit of reserve air, and then there's a compressor that runs off of the battery that can provide air into the reserve, which then is fed into the bags with switches, solenoids, whatnot. Explorer, that I don't know if this was this one had an Explorer package or if he just pulled that off of one, but that was a thing. When you typically hear of Explorers, you're thinking of an SUV, but that was an option in the pickup world back then. This is a 52 Ford F1. So this was the years of the Ford pickup before they changed to the F100. This being the last year of the F1. In 1953, they changed to the F100. Three on the tree. This all looks pretty period correct, minus the gauges screwed in under the dash. Pretty nice truck. I love the grills on the 51s and 52s. Much more so than I do the 48, 49, and 50s. They're just kind of flat, like you just ran into a brick wall. And the 51 and 52, there it is. There's a good shot. Have what some refer to as teeth on the grill. And if I had to pick an F1, a 51 would probably be my choice. So this is another 3100 truck, GM truck. No idea what specific year model it is. I just know it's somewhere between a 57 and somewhere between a 47 and a 53. And there's some big changes for 54 and 55. So I know it's not that. But this one's been lowered. The bed has been raised. Big tires require tubs, so they had to cut basically part of the floor out of the bed so that the tires wouldn't rub. And so essentially, in order to be able to put something back there in the bed like that cooler you see, you raise the floor up, and you can see the tops of the wheel tubs there in the back of the bed. And that one looks like some sort of GM. I couldn't tell. I'm assuming that was probably a 12-bolt rear end, which if you're going to go with the heaviest duty GM rear end, that's what you would go with. A old school carbureted small block, simple, very basic, reliable small block Chevrolet. Right motor for that truck for sure. Unless you're going to go with an LS. Now this steering setup, I don't know where, my gosh, I feel like that it could have been a different setup than that. But again, I'm going to keep my opinions to myself. Same type truck as one we just looked at. And this one I can't tell. Looks like maybe they're going to paint it. What you typically see, they've trimmed it out on the inside with this, whatever color this is. I don't know if it's teal or whatnot, but typically when you see this and the outside is still in primer, you would paint the inside first and then assemble it and then mask all that off somehow to keep the overspray out of it, and then paint the rest of it. They may be going for just a clean look on the inside, and they're going to keep the outside rat. I don't know what I would do there, but if I was going to do that, I would probably try a little bit harder to keep the new paint contained. Like you can see the teal and the door jambs and whatnot. I feel like he's going to paint this one, and it won't stay in primer. Thing is, I've seen it most of the shows this year in this state, so I don't know. Maybe he's this one's a 49. How about that? Tubs, so he's got a little bit wider tires on it. It requires some tubs. Ford Falcon, I love these cars. The guy that used to be the sidekick for what's his name on Gas Monkey Garage built a Falcon that I just absolutely loved. He was a Ford guy and made a nice little street racer. But these things was they had their own. They found had their own niche in terms of a performance car. But this one obviously has kept that refined, classic look, and I think they did a really good job. With these cars, it really all depends on the state you find them in. If people have not chopped them up or lost half the pieces and parts, then it's a really hard decision, a really hard call not to restore them back to factory original. Now, if you come across one that's half there and you've got to piece it together, and you're looking for a more modernized ride, hot rod, whatever, then it makes it an easier decision to soup it up. But this one, and I believe you can get the Falcon with a few, there's a few options there where you could creep into the performance options. This one obviously has a V8 in it, which would have put it in that category. I'm sure it's a fun little driver. 63 is my favorite, but same with the 64. Really nice car. This one is probably my favorite of the entire show. I would like to own this car. More specifically, I would love my wife to own this car. 47 Ford Coupe. I think the work on it to modernize it was done really well. And I would love to take a drive across country in the thing. I'm sure it would be fun. There's just some sort of vibe going on with this thing that I really like. That woody look with the wood grain on the side. I don't know if that's stickers in this particular case or if it was painted on there, but that was a nod to the cars that actually did have wood incorporated in as part of the body, but this one did not. This is all just there for looks. And this one would be considered a coupe. Hairs on it. I love the roof rack. Put all your luggage up there. Strap it down. Looks like it's ready for a trip to the Grand Canyon. I would love to be the one to take it there. Nice car. Here we have another Model A coupe, which is basically just a modernized version of, the body looks like a steel body car from what I can tell. They do make fiberglass replicas of the Model A's simply because, they're old. This one being a 31, and you don't see very many cars or bodies from 1931 anymore, so they make a fiberglass alternative. This one was definitely a driver. The guy drove drove this thing everywhere. You know, back on that circle track racer deal, I called those things trailer fenders on the front, but this one has something that looks really similar to it. So I don't know if this was, I don't know. I don't know if about the options. I mean, it doesn't look like it's a factory fender, but who knows? This one has got the right straight axle underneath it. I definitely prefer straight axle on these Model A's. This guy, along with several others, was getting ready to go to the Frog Follies, which is in Indiana. It's about, I don't know, from Nashville, 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive. So he drove this car everywhere. Got the stickers to show it for it. And believe at the time of this recording that the Frog Follies was about a week off, so they were all excited, ready to go have some fun at that thing. Rumble seat in this one as well. It's hard to tell. I don't know why people don't open them for you to be able to see that, but they open opposite from what a typical trunk door would open. So again, it's referred to as a rumble seat. Chevrolet Super Sport Camaro. This one's a 350 version, 4-speed car. Again, compared to the Chevelles, it's typically a big block car. I mean, you could get this one in a big block, the Camaros, but it seems like that the majority of them had 327 or 350 in them. Still hot little cars nonetheless. And then, of course, when people got a hold of them in the 70s, 80s, 90s, hot rod them, they put anything under the sun that they had under the hood to soup them up. But this one survived all that. And I think was done right in putting it back to what was probably the original option on this car, which was a 350. All right, that's the end. Thanks if you hung in there with me this long. Please subscribe.